From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. We start to preview the Tennessee Titans matchup this Sunday. The Broncos at 3-5, the Tennessee Titans at 5-3. And of course, we got the chance to watch the Tennessee Titans take on the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Good game. Really thought the Tennessee Titans might pull it out there for a little bit there, but Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, they do some special things on offense, and it's likely going to take some special moments from Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense in order to get by this Tennessee Titans team. The first thing that jumps out, well, obviously we don't know who the quarterback's going to be at this very moment, but the first thing that jumps out is they are a different team at quarterback, specifically with the way Malik Willis operates things and the way Ryan Tannehill operates things.
Well, yeah, they can throw the ball when Ryan Tannehill's back there.
Right.
You know, it makes him very one-dimensional, and Derrick Henry, to his credit, I mean, my goodness, he's still Derrick Henry, even when the team is one-dimensional. They did have Malik pull the ball a few times and run and create additional run lanes early that helped create the threat. It helped create an additional threat there and helped open up a few run lanes, I think, for Derrick Henry. But watching that game, I felt like Kansas City shot themselves in the foot more than the Titans did. The Titans just played good football and hung around. You know, other than not being able to throw the ball, played good football and hung around. And Kansas City kept shooting themselves in the foot over and over. And I think that tells you that, hey, look, if you're the Denver Broncos, you come in and play clean football, you got a chance of winning this football game. You know, the key to beating the Titans is try to get up on them early, make them have to throw, put them in situations where they have to throw the ball because they're not that good at it. And so, you know, in the end, if you can make them one-dimensional and not let them battering ram wear you down with the bowling ball of butcher knives that is Derrick Henry, I think you have a chance of winning it.
Yeah, their pattern is about the same, though, because what they did against the Raiders, the Colts, what they've done against most teams is they do get up early and then they're just sort of like boa constrictor on you. They have a very physical defense, and then they have a very good run game, and they have the best run game in the league. So what they do is they basically say, hey, we think that we can play conservative football once we have a lead, and that has worked for the most part. Now, again, when you take on elite offenses like the Kansas City Chiefs, well, even an 8-point lead at that point, it felt like it was going to be good enough. So that's the same, though, by the way, with Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis. But you put it perfectly. You have 5 completions against the Chiefs, 6 completions the week before against the Texans. And that in the modern NFL is just wild.
Even Tim Tebow could get 11 completions in a game.
Well, Tim actually only had
once
2 completions in one game.
Yeah,
but yes, I
get the idea.
There.
I mean, I'm just saying, like they struggle to throw the football. So if you can find ways and just keep stacking points against them, that's your best bet. You don't have to go aggressive. You just got to not make mistakes. They're a very good defense. They're very good on third down too. They're one of the best third down defenses, in the league. One of the better defenses in the league overall. You know, there's a couple of things where they do give up a few things here or there, but reality is it's a pretty good defense. They get pressure on you. They like to stunt. They like to twist. And the back end holds up really well. So they're a good defense. They're a strong run game. It's just a question of the quarterback position.
The defense was on the field for 91 plays. And I want to say that Patrick Mahomes had like 70-some dropbacks in those 91 plays. That's a lot of time. Over 41 minutes on the field for the defense. How much do you think that impacts the stamina of where the Tennessee Titans are at, coming now flying back home and playing? It's not a short week, but it's a little bit shorter if you've been on the field that much.
Well, yeah, you get the overnight. You're not flying back during the day. You get the overnight flight. It does kind of take away a day of rest and stuff like that. I think the body's going to be a little bit more banged up. I mean, I was pulling for it. Yeah, let that overtime run, you know. So, you know, it helps the Broncos out as far as that kind of stuff goes. You know, it's not like it's a Monday night game, which really would have hurt if you're the Tennessee defense. But, you know, overall, I think it does wear you down. I mean, it's midseason. It's wearing you down. The Broncos are going to be fresh. They're coming off a bye, you know. So that's going to be interesting. If it was at Denver, I think that might be another thing too. You know, playing at altitude after getting worn out the week before like that. So we'll see, but I don't think it'll be. It might be a dramatic effect late in the game, but I don't think it's going to affect early.
Either way, for the Broncos, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they got to find some consistency. So even we can sit here and talk about the advantages the Broncos might have, matchups, whatever. But in the end, the Broncos are going to have to do things that they haven't really done consistently. And they're going to have to do it against a Tennessee defense that is second in the NFL against the run. And I honestly think a lot of their – I mean, even though I watch Patrick Mahomes run up and down the field, I'm saying, generally speaking, they're very good against the run. And then I think a lot of their stats, at least against the pass, are teams playing catch-up more so than actually – being bad against the pass. So this is going to be a tough matchup here. Where, if you were the Broncos offense and Coach Hackett, where would you start to scheme against this team?
Well, they're aggressive up front. I think we're going to look at the screen game a little bit early on, and if we can get the screen game going and do that, then we can kind of neutralize the pass rush, and that's going to buy time for some of these deeper developing concepts. They're a physical football team. They are physical corners. So I think you want to play physical with it, mix it up, try and get some flags. I think you're going to have to play that style of football because they're just going to keep hitting you. And if they get flags, they're going to still keep hitting you. That's what they do. They play physical football. And so I think that we're going to try to find a way to take advantage of that. Take advantage of physical aggression. Play for the flags, draw screens, things like that early to take advantage and see what you can do with that. And if you can get them back on their heels, that's when you go downhill and with power on them. So.
What about from the other side of the ball, the Broncos defense versus this offense? Again, we all know about Derrick Henry. He continues to rack up Hall of Fame numbers. The Broncos, last 2 times they faced him, he had over 100 yards rushing a couple of years ago when they opened the season against Tennessee. The Broncos ended up losing that game. But Derrick Henry had like a 3.7 yards per carry. It wasn't anything spectacular. And then the year before that was the very famous Marcus Mariota getting benched at halftime for Ryan Tannehill, something, by the way, that you had predicted was going to happen. And Derrick Henry in that game, it was like 1.7 yards per carry, had like 30-some rushing yards, just really ineffective. But they were shut out. They was completely ineffective overall for that team. So the Broncos have a little bit of a mixed bag against Derrick Henry, but he hasn't taken over games against the Broncos. So I guess when we start talking about, well, how do you play the Tennessee Titans offense, as every single team says, well, it starts with Derrick Henry.
Well, you play in the same way you play the Raiders offense, except that the threat of the pass isn't as great. You know what I mean?
True.
And Josh Jacobs is kind of got a similar style, maybe not as big and all that kind of stuff, but a similar style to Derrick Henry, and they'll wear you down with that. And if you're a Broncos fan, you got to kind of open your eye and look at that and saw what Josh Jacobs did. Now, the Titans can't throw the way that the Raiders can, so that helps you out. You don't have to pay as much attention to that. You just got to make sure they don't get over the top on you. You're going to be in base a lot. So if it's me, and it just depends on who the quarterback is going to be, I think it's going to be Ryan Tannehill. I think it was supposed to be Ryan Tannehill this week, and they decided to hold it off one more week. But if it's Malik Willis, you're playing contain and let Alex Singleton run after the quarterback. If it's Ryan Tannehill, it's a little bit different. They'll put an additional receiver on the field, and you spread you out a little bit more. You'll be a nickel. So it really just depends on which quarterback you're going to have out there. But playing gap sound football, having Josie Jewell be able to to take on Derrick Henry, because that's going to be a matchup, and keeping him fresh enough that you can rotate Jonas through. That's going to be a big matchup on the night.
No, I certainly think it is. And then Ryan Tannehill can scramble, but he's got the ankle injury, so it won't be quite to the level. And we did see Malik Willis, especially early on in the game, scrambling against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's interesting because initially when I saw the mobility of Malik Willis, and again, I like Malik Willis. I think long-term he could develop into something. It's not there yet, and I think that's understandable as a second start in the NFL. But understanding that mobility is a factor for the Broncos and how you play, whether it's a spy, whether you, again, have to make sure you keep your edges there to make sure that they can't escape out, like we saw Patrick Mahomes do a bunch of times. That is different than when you're playing what a guy considered to be a true pocket quarterback.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you do have to make sure that you've got sound contained and you've set the edge, both in the run game and in the quarterback boot game, because those guys can get outside on you, and they've got mobility. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was the 9th leading receiver all time at A&M before he switched back to quarterback.
Right.
The guy's got athleticism. And then Malik Willis, we all saw the athleticism, I think, during the combine. So, I do think you got to have some contain out there. I think you got to make sure that those guys don't take off on you. There's not really any of their receivers that just scare you, as far as anything goes. I think the main thing is plugging up the run game, playing sound football on the outside, and I think you can beat them. It's the key to beating Tennessee is having a good enough defense to beat Tennessee, not necessarily the offense.
Yeah, and the physicality portion.
Yeah. And they're going to be physical. You have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, you got to match that. All right, we'll obviously spend the rest of the week kind of detailing or the finer details of this matchup against the Tennessee Titans, as well as a look ahead for the remainder of the season. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.